Hey guys, Dr. Ian here from Wellington Family Chiropractic, and today I want to talk about a condition that develops over time due to different circumstances, but I do see it quite a bit in my office, and there are exercises that can help, and that condition is called diastasis recti. And essentially what that is you think about that word, you're probably like, oh, I don't have any idea what he's talking about, but you've seen this before. It's very common in our pregnant patients or after delivery as the mom is recovering. You're at a higher risk if you're overweight or obese, but improper lifting, repetitive improper lifting in a long period of time can cause the diastasis recti, which is a splitting apart of the rectus abdominis. In other words, those muscles that give you that nice six-pack along the front. The tissue between the two sides pulls apart a little bit. And so when you'll see this on somebody, and I see it in some of my patients, is as they're going to sit up, there's this ballooning effect in between both sides of that rectus abdominis, and it pops up through the tissue a little bit. It doesn't go through the tissue, but the tissue pops up itself. So it's a bit of a separation of the connective tissue between the two sides right down the middle. And so this condition usually does really well with conservative care. If it gets too severe, it can become a problem, but a lot of times we just need to strengthen that area to kind of bring that back together. And the problem with not having that nice and tight is that person could be at risk for more low back pain, because as you're going throughout the day and you're creating pressure throughout your abdomen and going through certain ranges of motion, if you can't keep this tight and through here, what will happen is a lot of times we'll see our patients compensate with tightness back here. So in other words, their brain knows they're losing some of their abdominal pressure, some of their stability through the front muscles that provide that. We're going to crank down the lower back muscles, and you can become extremely tight in your erectors or these muscles through here if we don't take care of that diastasis. So again, it's a fairly common condition. It's a splitting apart of those muscles, and you'll see it a lot of times when people are a little overweight or post-pregnancy and they go to sit up, and that ballooning effect happens between. So what I want to do is go over some exercises for that. That way you can work on strengthening that area and again, just tightening that up. They're really easy to do. They don't put you in a compromising position, and usually my patients tolerate them well. So the first one's called a dead bug. So common exercise, you probably see me go through it again. I'm going to go through the basics. We're going to bring the knees right up over the hips, and his arms would go up just like that. It's called a dead bug because currently Jay looks like a dead bug. So the key here to do this well is we want to create some abdominal tension. In other words, if I poke in all the way around 360 degrees around Jay's stomach, we should not be loose there. So he should be kind of, if I have my hands on both sides, creating a little bit of an abdominal brace or a pushing out of those muscles. And then we want to see this area just below his ribs. If I were to slide my hand back there, I don't want to be able to easily get all the way to his spine. There should be, his back should be flattened out here. You're going to have a little natural curvature in the low back, but this here needs to be fixed upon the floor of the table or whatever you're going to do. Now, to start this exercise, what you can do, keeping this still, we want to make sure we're relaxed through the shoulders, breathing through the nose. Jay can just take one arm overhead. He's going to bring it straight back, and he's doing a good job of keeping this area still. So if he was doing that wrong, we would see as he goes up, he loses that, and his ribs want to flare up. So you can see his bottom ribs pop up this way. The ribs, we want to cue, and I'll cue people. Sometimes I'll push their ribs down and tell them to hold that there as you move your arm up. That's the point of the exercise. So we're creating good stability here. And then as he gets better at that, we can work both arms, or we can do contralateral limbs or opposite sides. So he's going to bring one down. This is going to be harder for him to keep this right here. So what we might do is just have Jay do an arm at a time, do a leg at a time. And once we feel good about this staying stable right here, then he can move on to doing both his arm and the opposite leg at the same time. Again, keeping pressure in the abdomen, not allowing those ribs to flare up. So typically the way we prescribe these exercises is 3 sets of 10 repetitions. So the next exercise, we're going to roll to a side and do a side plank. And so this is going to target this outer region of the abdomen. And he can do it multiple ways. So he's set up with one foot in front of the other, straight legged. You can see that. He can raise up straight from there into the plank position. And you're just going to bring this, and you just want this all to be a straight line. We don't want him to be sagging down towards the table or way pitched up way too high. It's neutral, and it's right there. And you can see he's already working. Again, we're creating that abdominal pressure. He can drop down to his knees, bend his knees, put them together, and he can just go up from the knee. For a lot of patients, this is where we have to start because they can't do a straight leg side plank. But what you can do is you can hold that position. If you can only do 5 seconds, do 5 seconds. And just do as many reps of 5 seconds as you can. You will notice you'll begin to build some stability down there and some endurance in those muscles. You can do 10 seconds, ideally working up to maybe doing 30-second holds. And you can do, 4 or 5 repetitions of that. You can do it once a day. Honestly, with a side plank, it's great to do more than once a day. You can do 2 sets of those repetitions we're talking about. So that is the side plank. One key note is don't let your shoulder get crammed up into your ear. I always tell people push that elbow down into the floor, pack your shoulder, then you come up. If this is riding up here near there, he's probably going to get a big trigger point or a knot in his trap. We want to avoid that. So it's straight down, knees, or straight leg. Again, you can do that, a variation of up and down for different seconds and holds. And then the next one will be a floor plank. So instead of a side plank, his toes are going to be touching here, elbows are here. He's going to relax his shoulders, make sure his traps or the tops of shoulders aren't all kinked up. Then he's going to push himself straight up into a flat position. And what we want here is we don't want Jay to be sagging down towards the floor. This would be incorrect, sagging. Or we don't want Jay pitched up like that. His butt shouldn't be way up in the air. He should be nice and neutral. Again, creating tension through here, holding the pressure on the toes and the elbows. And again, you can do this the same as a side plank in terms of how long you can hold it. You can build up endurance and do those repetitions. If you want to make this exercise a lot harder, you can use your elbows as a small fulcrum to rock forward a couple inches and come back, keeping this all completely still. Again, we're not seeing a big curvature in his low back. He's not dipping down or piking up, but it's a small rock forward, and Jay can tell you that makes him work more. So the idea behind doing these exercises, again, we're working different areas of the abdomen or the core, and we're trying to tighten up that area along the front in between the rectus abdominis to where that diastasis recti gets tighter and tighter, and hopefully can be reduced to a point where it's not nearly as noticeable. So it's really good post-pregnancy. These exercises are really good for somebody that has lifted the wrong way for a long time, and maybe they're in their 50s or 60s, and they notice that has happened. And it can build your core, it can reduce the recti, but also it can really take some pressure off your low back, which we love around here. So really easy few exercises to try. I hope they help, and we'll talk to you soon.